Yankees take 2 of 3 from the Seattle Mariners. Unfortunately, they do lose tonight in extra innings. They get shut out 1-0. It was reminiscent to a game last year, although that one was more extreme. That one went, I want to say, at least 12 or 13 innings. And look, the Yankees won this series. The bats were, alive and well for the first 2 games, but really dried up in a big way in the third one. So that's the unfortunate thing, and really more so than not, when I've been recording the last game of series, it's normally been good. But unfortunately, in this case, the order wasn't quite what we wanted it to be, but the Yankees still take 2 out of 3, which is exactly what I asked for going to Seattle. But let's do some housekeeping first, because there's going to be a lot of roster moves and just recent news as well. So if you remember back to the end of the Padres series, Anthony Rizzo was injured. Turns out it was a neck injury in a collision with Fernando Tatis, and he ended up not playing at all this series. Look, I think he's going to be fine, but it was a little bit, I don't know, it was concerning, I guess frustrating that tonight, that he was only available in an emergency situation, and there were plenty of chances, specifically the 10th inning, where Rizzo could have pinch hit and they chose not to. So clearly it's not, good enough to the point where he'd be in that situation. Sounds like he'll be ready to go on Friday, but makes you wonder just a little bit. Again, I think he'll be fine, but no Rizzo this series. In worse news, Harrison Bader is back on the IL, and he was a big reason for the turnaround. I mean, when he came back, that kind of coincided with the Yankees starting to win, and Bader, running down first base, pulls a hamstring. It's a hamstring strain, and so he will be out, and I will guess that he will be out for at least, I'll say 3 weeks. I mean, could it be 2? Yeah, right. I mean, it could be, maybe, but a better guess is I'd say at least 3. So, long story short, we might not see much Harrison Bader in the month of June. So that sucks. The good news is this. Well, some of it's good news, I suppose. Going into the Dodgers series, the Yankees will be getting 3 players back. Giancarlo Stanton, which is probably the biggest surprise. I would not have thought that he would have been back at this point. I do think part of it is the fact that it's the Dodgers series and he is from LA, but it's a good enough sign, clearly. I don't think they're rushing him back per se, but it is interesting. I'm not sure if it would have happened if it was a different opponent, different location, but there you are. And Josh Donaldson will be back as well. It'll be interesting to see how he does, in terms of playing time. There's competition there, but we'll talk about why he kind of is in the driver's seat now, but that could change quickly. Josh Donaldson will be back. And then Tommy Kahnle will be making his 2023 Yankee debut and his first appearance for the Yankees since 2020. And that was basically a one-and-done situation, if I recall, where it was that first series at the Nationals in that shortened season coming off of COVID, and he looked really good, and then, that was it. Tommy John. It was very upsetting. It came out of nowhere. So really, we have not really seen Tommy Kahnle really since 2019. And he had just been on the Dodgers last season, so that'll be sort of a reunion of sorts for Tommy Kahnle. So that'll be interesting. Now, the roster moves that come with that are pretty obvious, but we'll discuss one of them more so. So Matt Crook, who never came in, he was called up and he was probably with the team for a little less than a week and never came into a game. He will be sent down for Kahnle. Franchy Cordero, who unfortunately came in a big spot in tonight's game with the bases loaded in the 10th inning and struck out, he will absolutely be sent down, and I hope to not see him again. What Franchy Cordero did for whatever it had been, a week or 2 early this season, was as good as it gets, and we'll never see that again. The bigger move, but it makes sense, is that Oswaldo Cabrera will be sent down. So Oswaldo Cabrera, essentially it's the Donaldson spot, essentially. But look, Oswaldo, the first 2 months of the season, been a major struggle. And I like the kid, and I think that he'll be back up, making contributions. His defensive versatility is good, but he just wasn't good. Whereas last year in the regular season, right, because in the playoffs, Oswaldo really was not very good. The only time that I could think back to where he really delivered was he had a pretty big home run in the Cleveland series. I want to say game 3. He homered maybe off of Triston McKenzie, but really besides that, the defense was a bit of a struggle. It was tough for Oswaldo, but he had a really good spring training, a great spring training, in fact, and he kind of won the left field job. He really, that was his kind of to have, and he lost it. He lost it, and so he deserves to be sent down, and we'll see when he comes back. And Bader going on the IL probably saved Jake Bauers. I think he probably would have been the guy that would have lost the spot, but it worked out for him. And to be fair to him, he actually had a pretty good series. So, I've been tough on Jake Bauers, but I thought that he actually did really well. He's a former Seattle Mariner, and he performed pretty well in this series. So he stays. And then I'll bring this up right here because I think it's worth discussing. I don't think it's going to happen. Let me just say that point blank. I don't think it's going to happen. But if there was a time to kind of, send Volpe down and bring up Peraza, now might just be the time to do it. It's going to be a big deal regardless. Like, if you make a move like that, it's going to get a lot of attention. I get that. But I don't know, maybe with Oswaldo, sending him down, maybe it's sort of a package deal. All right, we're sending down, the young kids, just, get a little bit of, to calm down, find their game again, with the idea of bringing them back up. Again, I don't think it'll happen, but Peraza has been really, really good in AAA. And the thought had been, going into spring training, I think we all thought that Peraza would probably win the job over Volpe. The way it worked out was Volpe absolutely outplayed Peraza and deserved to get that shortstop job. And look, Volpe did hit a 3-run homer this series. He did, but again, there's defensive miscues. There's a lot of strikeouts. The batting average is about 195. I'm just saying, this is not me saying Volpe. I think Volpe is going to be a very special player. I really do, but you're in a unique situation where Peraza is also a young kid. That's the thing. If it was like Connor Falefa doing well, no, that I would not do it for that. But with Peraza, I want to see what he can do, honestly, and they should want to see that as well. So I wouldn't rule it out, is all I'm saying. Would I predict it happens? No. But if it continues where Peraza's really doing well in Scranton and Volpe struggling at the majors, don't be surprised if it does eventually happen, but maybe not yet. So that's the housekeeping, and there's a lot of it, but let's talk about the series. And it was mostly good. The first 2 games, the Yankees really got to the Mariners starters, Bryce Miller in the first game and Logan Gilbert in the second one, and it turned out that it was George Kirby. Last episode, I had said that it was going to be Luis Castillo. That was a mistake by MLB.com. It was actually George Kirby, and ironically, I kind of wish that it was Castillo. Kirby was brilliant and totally shut the Yankees down in that third game. But give the Yankees credit, in games 1 and 2, Bryce Miller, who pitched the first game for the Mariners, was really sensational in his first few starts in the majors, like really, really good. And the Yankees tattooed him. I mean, Miller and Gilbert, they really looked hittable. I mean, it was impressive by the Yankees. And I guess you could say night 1 was the Judge night, where he hits 2 homers and he robs a homer as well. So like the Judge craziness continues. Like this is like last year all over again at this point. The only difference is that, he's missed, about 10 more games thereabouts. So that's going to affect the overall counting stats, but it doesn't affect, the OPS, which is just crazy. And so it's good to see. He is so important. He's a special, special player. And, the Yankees are very fortunate to have him. But game 1, it would be Domingo Germán's first start since the 10-game suspension. And he, there were struggles there. We've seen this from Germán where, he's been given a big lead and, kind of then struggles a little bit. I would say no real cause for concern. It wasn't a great start by Germán, but, he was given a big lead and, he did a good enough job. Would I have liked to have seen him go through 7 because his pitch count was low? I would have, but it's okay that it didn't work that way. He goes 6 1/3 and it worked out. But let's talk about this one. Yankees take the lead in the second, and when Harrison Bader was healthy, he singles, steals second, goes to third on a bad throw by Cal Raleigh, and Jake Bauers with an RBI double. So Bauers, again, like, he looked good. Like, it wasn't just the stats. He actually looked pretty good up there at the plate. His defense, I don't love, although he played 2 games at first. And I can't remember. He might, because he's a corner outfielder, first baseman, but he might have, the way he plays, it looks like he probably is a natural first baseman. He wasn't tested much, but I just don't like what I see in the outfield from him. But anyway, Bauers makes it 1-0 right there. But in the bottom of the second, the Mariners do tie it up. And this was an RBI ground out by Teoscar Hernandez. Ties it up at 1. But in the third, the Yankees get right back to it. It's a Gleyber single and then Aaron Judge with a 2-run homer. Aaron Judge has just been unbelievable. This was his 16th homer of the season. By the time the series is over, he'd be up to 18. But the Yankees took that 3-1 lead, and they wouldn't look back. Bader does get hurt in this third inning. It's an infield single, but he's taken out of the game, and Greg Allen would pinch run for Bader, and we would see a lot of Greg Allen the rest of the series. I don't think we'll see him starting nearly as much with these recent moves to the roster, but in this series, Greg Allen did play quite a bit. He actually homered as well. He actually was picked off. So it was really a terrible sequence where Bader gets hurt and then Allen gets picked off first base. We move to the fourth, and in the fourth, Jake Bauers homers. So Bauers makes it 4-1 Yanks, and then Julio Rodriguez answers back with a solo home run himself, makes it 4-2, and then in the fifth, the Yankees really break it open as Willie Calhoun gets a 2-run double. Again, I like what I've seen from Calhoun. I think he will lose at bats, unfortunately, because you think about it, with Stanton coming through, who's a DH. Calhoun did play in the field the third game, but I do think he is probably, I would say he might be most affected more than anyone. We'll talk about someone else. I guess I should have brought it up when it came to Donaldson, but we'll get there. But in terms of Stanton, that might cut into Calhoun's role. So it makes it 6-2. And then Isaiah Kiner-Falefa gets a 2-run double. And for Kiner-Falefa, who it ends up on a bad note in the last game, but he had a 4-hit night in game 2. IKF is really hitting the ball well. He is doing a good job. And he lost that shortstop job. He did start at short in game 2. Was it game 2 or was it game 1? It was game 2. Yeah. Oh, no, it was game 1. It was game 1. And he was fine. He didn't make any mistakes. And that made sense to me. And to me, that was a precursor that Oswaldo was going to be sent down. Because, he was kind of the backup shortstop. Now it's kind of Falefa. So that makes it 8-2. But then in the bottom of the fifth, Herman, walks Trammell and Caballero to start the fifth. Totally unacceptable. You cannot do that. And it does eventually hurt him, as Rodriguez gets a 2-run single to make it 8-4. In the sixth, however, Aaron Judge does it again, homers, gives the Yanks a 9-4 lead. That home run was off of Juan Then, former Yankee prospect, actually. So that makes it 9-4. Then we jump to the seventh, where Herman is taken out of the game, gives up a couple of singles. So again, not a great start by Herman, but it kind of is what it is. Yankees were in pretty good control of this. Marinaccio comes on and does the job. He gets a couple of strikeouts, ends the inning, and so the Yankees at this point have a 9-4 lead. And let's see, Albert Abreu comes on and pitches a good 8th and 9th. And in the middle there, in the top of the 9th, Higgy would get an RBI single. I should also mention as well, let's jump to game 2 at this point. There was some housekeeping that I forgot. And the Yankees, it's a final score of 10-4. So again, good job by the bullpen, Marinaccio, and then you get 2 innings out of Albert Abreu, and he looked pretty good. Jose Trevino is back in game 2. And so they sent down Rortvedt, which is unfair. And I think that, look, I think he's someone that we might hear from in future years. Like, I think this could be someone that, could be in a platoon. And we'll see, what happens as far as Higgy, Trevino, the future, who knows, right? But Rortvedt deserves a shot. It was a short sample size, but I thought it looked pretty good. But anyway, Trevino returns, and, with his battery mate, Nestor Cortez. And for Nestor, it was a good start. but he only goes 5 innings. He throws 101 pitches. And again, that third time through, there were struggles. So, like, more good than bad, but like some of the same issues presented themselves. So again, with Nestor, like, it's just he's not quite where you want him, but we'll see how he does. I guess it'll be next week against the White Sox. He will not be facing the Dodgers this weekend. So let's start it out here. First inning, Yankees scored 3 runs. And a big reason was LeMahieu hit what could have been a double play ball, but it ends up being booted by Eugenio Suarez, and everyone's safe. I guess I'll bring up LeMahieu right there. DJ, and I gave him credit for what he did, specifically in Game 2 of that Padres series, but it's been a struggle. His batting average at this point is around 240, a little bit more than that probably around 242, 243 right now. And look, like with Donaldson returning, and I know how it works, right? And it's not as if Rizzo's even 100% healthy. Stanton's just coming back. It'll end up being kind of equal, like, sort of rest for some of these players. But everything being totally equal, like, LeMahieu is in trouble of losing some playing time if they stay healthy. Again, there's a lot of ifs there, right? Like Josh Donaldson. Like, it's not as if he deserves to just, like, get a starting role immediately. But I'm just saying, DJ, it's been pretty bad. It's been pretty bad for a while now. He's not the same player he used to be, whether that be injury or whatnot. It sucks because he was one of my favorite players the first 2 seasons on the Yanks, like more than Judge. And again, things were different then, right? Judge, there were injuries there and, it was a different time, but DJ was just like the guy. And, look, what did I say? Did I say 18? No, 19 and 20. 19 and 20, LeMahieu was just MVP level. Last 3 seasons have been a struggle. That's all I'll say there. So, Kiner Falefa gets the big hit. 2-run single for IKF, gives the Yankees 2-0 lead, and then Jake Bauers with a sac fly. Nice at bat there. Yankees are up 3-0. Then, let's jump to the third. And in the third, the Yanks would get a 3-run homer by Anthony Volpe. So that was big. Volpe, and I was kind of shitting on him a bit, but he did that. And that's where, like, you see, look, 8 home runs is still very good. He is on pace for, over 20 homers, right? 22, 23. So that is good. I'll definitely say that. And it is encouraging. So the Yankees take a 6-0 lead. Then in the fourth, Greg Allen, his first homer, maybe as a Yank. I can't remember if he had a homer in his first and as a Yankee. It could be his first. Either way, it's his first of the season, and the Yankees take a 7-0 lead. Then in the fifth, you get the Nestor issues. And the Yankees, again, did a great job against Logan Gilbert in this one. They really did. And they've hit him before. But in the fifth, you can't lead off walk Sam Haggerty. It's kind of the thing that happened to Herman the night before. And eventually, you get a Ty France RBI double. And you get a Teoscar Hernandez RBI double. But luckily, Cortez does finish the inning. He does get the win. He is 5-2. But that 5.16 ERA doesn't look so good. But Nestor, he just needs to clean up that third time through. And look, he just wasn't pitch efficient either. But, it ends up being okay for the Yanks. What was perplexing to me is Michael King comes on in the sixth. And I just, the Yankees were up by 5 at that point. I understand the idea of like bringing your top guys in early. Like I'm fine with that. Like I'm not one of those people that like wants to wait for it. Bring them right in. Bring your top guys in the big situations. And King was warming up in the 5th inning. And that I would have totally understood. If Cortez fucked up further, they were going to bring in King, which I agree with. But once that was done, I would have gone to Marinat. Well, no, I guess Marinat should pitch the night before. I probably would have gone to Cordero, like in that spot. I think you could have been okay with that. But they go to King, and King does the job. No surprise. He pitches a scoreless 6th and 7th. In the 7th, Judge homers off of this like rookie guy who had terrible AAA numbers, Darren McCagan, something like that. Poor guy, yeah. Judge homer, and Yankees took an 8-2 lead, but King pitches a scoreless 6th and 7th. I just think it was a wasted time to have Michael King because he was not available when you needed him in Game 3. So, and I think Boone, if you asked him, I think that he would double down on it, but like, I don't know. I didn't like that, and it kind of, unfortunately, affected them a little bit in that last game. So in the 8th, Yankees are up 10, No, 8-2 at this point. Ryan Weber comes on, and Ryan Weber like has done the job, and it's just funny that like he has been on this roster now for a little bit. Like you thought, okay, he'll get DFA'd, and Ryan Weber continues to stay on the team, so good on him. In the ninth, the Yankees get a couple of runs thanks to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa getting a 2-run single. So it was a big night for IKF, really big one. Yankees win at 10-2. Kiner-Falefa, 4 hits, 4 RBIs. And so he was kind of the star of the night. We jumped to game 3, which was a 1-0 loss in extra innings. The Yankees did that last year versus the Mariners in Seattle. And you could feel it happening. The Yankees only had 3 hits, 3 singles. It was a rough night. George Kirby, who grew up a Yankee fan, local kid, pitched very, very well. And, he struggled in his last outing versus the Pirates. But tonight he was fantastic. And Clarke Schmidt, he was good. Clarke Schmidt goes 5 2/3 scoreless, 3 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Clark's getting better, and that's good to see. He was pitching so much worse than he ever should have. I think he can be a weapon out of the pen. I do think that. I think that's eventually where he'll land. Although, look, you can never be too sure, right? With Rodon, it's a total wild card at this point as far as his return. But the numbers with Schmidt, the most encouraging thing is the 65 strikeouts and 55 2/3 inning. He's got the K stuff. But obviously, some of the other numbers are bloated and, versus lefties and just overall whip. It's ugly, but it's getting a lot better. And so for Schmidt, this was definitely his best outing of the season, but it's been better lately as well. So you like to see that out of him. But unfortunately, the Yankee offense was nowhere to be found. You wish you could spread out those numbers, right? So what was it? They scored, was it 8 the first night? And it was 8. I know it was 10. What was it the first night? Was it 10 as well? Okay, it might have been 8. No, it was 10. So they scored 10 the first 2 games each, and then 0, right? You wish you could spread that out, but that's the way it works. So, game 3. And it was basically the same lineup for game 3's different positions. The only difference was Higgy was back in, Trevino on the bench to start out. And a lot of zeros all the way until the bottom of the 10th. So there's not a whole lot to discuss. I mean, the pitchers were totally locked in for like the first 3 innings. I got to bring up Gleyber again. And Gleyber at the plate has been good, right? Gleyber batting leadoff has been good. I wouldn't have thought that, but I like it. But there's a mental mistake every game. The one this game, and I forgot, there were some of the other 2 games. I'm not even going to get into that. But this one, it's a caught stealing where, like, it's as if he didn't even know where the base was. He just overslid it. There are tons of mental lapses. To me, it's increasing over time. It's not going away anyway. I hate to do that, but look, Gleyber, it's frustrating, and it's not winning baseball. So, in the 6th, there was a little bit of an opportunity where Higgy gets a 1-out single. Greg Allen, it's a sac bunt, and then Gleyber lines out to J.P. Crawford. Gleyber hit it on the screws, but right at Crawford. Schmidt is taken out with 2 outs in the 6th. Wandy comes on. Wandy did a great job. Wandy and Clay Holmes, but Wandy was fantastic. 2 scoreless innings. He strikes out Kelenic. In the 7th, Kiner-Falefa gets into one with 1 out, with 2 out and a runner on first, but Julio Rodriguez tracks it down. Bottom of the 7th, it gets a little bit dicey. Leadoff double by Suarez off of Wandy, but then, he's able to get out of it. Again, Peralta was really good, and he wasn't done there. In the 8th, he gets a couple of outs. They then take him out. They bring Clay Holmes on. He strikes out Ty France. Paul Sewald replaces Kirby in the 9th. They actually intentionally walked Judge with 2 out. Hey, it kind of made sense, and it worked out for the Mariners. Bottom of the 9th, Clay Holmes looked nasty. Like, when he is on, he looks so good, but that's the risk with Clay Holmes. Either amazing or just can't find the strike zone. Top of the 10th is where the frustration lies. Justin Tapa comes in for Seattle, who's been good, really good this year as a setup type guy. And the Yankees got lucky. Cabrera pinch runs. Well, not pinch runs. He came in for Calhoun in the bottom of the 9th. He's the runner on second. And Cabrera got lucky. LeMahieu, who continues again to struggle for the most part. I know there's been some good things mixed in, but LeMahieu does not get the job done. He hits a ground ball to short, and Cabrera gets lucky. He was a dead man at third, but Crawford bobbles it. Everyone's safe. First and third, no out. And so Kiner-Falefa is up, who had been playing well, and he pops out to third. You can't have that. You can't have that. Then Jake Bauers walks. And all the meanwhile, I'm wondering, are we going to see Anthony Rizzo? And you never do. You never see Anthony Rizzo, and that's unfortunate. Like this, I mean, it's just one at bat. I'll take a 50% Anthony Rizzo over who the hell they were throwing up there, but I digress. Anthony Volpe grounds out to third. They get the force set at home, so Volpe does not come through. And then Franchy Cordero pinch hits for Higashioka. And the reason they did it was because of he's a lefty and Top is better versus righties. But I would have had Higgy or Trevino in there. Franchy Cordero is terrible and hasn't had a major league at bat in a long time. And it was a full count, and he strikes out. And so when that happens right there, you're up against it. I always talk about how extra innings is a major advantage for the home team. And Ron Marinaccio comes on. With Cal Raleigh up, to me, it's automatic in that spot to just intentionally walk the guy. I understand that Marinaccio has reverse splits and is seen as being better versus lefties, but I would have had no issue intentionally walking Raleigh. Sure enough, it is a walk-off hit for Cal Raleigh, and the Mariners win 1-0. So a frustrating end of the series. The Yankees' record is now 34-24. They hit their high watermark of 11 over with that Game 2 win, but now it drops back down to 10 over. The 34-24, they're 6 back of the Tampa Bay Rays. And so today almost worked out where they were 4 back because the Rays barely won, and the Yankees could have, it could have worked differently, but they're 6 back, which is okay. Again, you have 4 months left of the season, plenty of time, 6 games back, and so now the Yankees will head to LA to take on the Dodgers. And so that is going to be interesting. Dodgers playing well. They did lose today, but they're playing well, and their record is almost identical to the Yankees, 34-23. The first matchup is the best matchup on paper, pitching-wise. It's Luis Severino versus Clayton Kershaw. So that's going to be a good one. Then Game 2, on paper, it's advantage Yankees, but what Gerrit Cole will you get? That's the question. So it'll be Gerrit Cole up against Michael Grove, who has struggled in his 4 starts with the Dodgers this year. No doubt about it. Has totally struggled. So we will see. And then the third matchup on Sunday Night Baseball will be between Domingo Germán. I'm a little bit skeptical about how he'll do, but we'll see. Domingo Germán will be on the mound. And for the Dodgers, it'll be a young prospect and a promising one in Bobby Miller, is it? I think it's Bobby Miller. Let's see. I want to get the name right. Yeah, Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller, who has made 2 starts and has looked pretty good in them. So that one, could be a little bit more of a challenge. But again, Yankees got to Bryce Miller. Weird how those names are very, very similar. So maybe the same thing happens there. But it'll be an interesting series. Always is, right? When the Yankees play the Dodgers, they did well against the Dodgers. They took 2-3 back in 2019. That's the last time they have faced them, if I remember correctly. But we'll see what comes that. And the Yankees come home. The Yankees will then come home to take on the White Sox and the Red Sox. But we'll focus on the Dodgers series for now. Yankees getting a lot of reinforcements back, so that'll be interesting to see. Really, all 3 of them for different reasons will be kind of, Stanton, Donaldson, Canely will be interesting to see. Hopefully Rizzo is back as well. I guess, your guess is as good as mine. I think he will be probably, but it might be a little bit of a new look Yankee team. As Waldo is going to be sent down. I speculated on Volpe. I don't think it'll happen now, but if this trend continues a few more weeks, don't be surprised if it does. But the Yankees do a nice job. They score 10 runs each in the first 2 games. Unfortunately, the bats are, silenced in Game 3. They lose 1-0 in extra innings, but a good series win. They're hoping to do the same against the Dodgers in Los Angeles.